Hey there. As always, I'm Sully, and hey, welcome to the Gun Club. Alrighty. Welcome in. For those of y'all who don't know, my name is Mike Sullivan. Most people call me Sully. We're going to be going over some stuff tonight. It's part of our little Thursday night series we've been starting, trying to do a little bit more informational, educational, infotainment, whatever, something that if you watch the stream, you may be able to take a thing or two away from it, maybe able to come up with something that is, a little bit useful in your everyday life, may, be good. Well, we're going to go through some stuff today, and we're going to start with about not a really 20,000 foot view, but maybe a 10,000 foot view of stuff to consider, things you want to take into account, things on your little checklist as you're working on building a home defense strategy or a home defense plan for yourself. And, if you don't have a plan, a lot of people don't have a plan. They've gone out and they know, well, maybe I need to do something. And yeah, I'm kind of concerned, and the world's kind of getting a little bit crazy, but, I've got a gun, so I'm ready. Or I've got something and I'm ready. Well, that's great. And that's wonderful, and more power to you. But on the other side of the coin, as much as, more power to you, yes, you've got a gun or you've got a weapon, but having a plan. We need to work on having a plan. Now, do we really need to build a plan? Well, why do we want one? Well, let's face it. If and when someone breaks into your house, whether you're awake or asleep, or during the day or during the evening or midnight hours or 3 a.m., it's going to be a sudden shock. It's going to be an adrenaline dump. Someone is in your house. They are threatening your domicile. They're breaking into your castle. And let's face it, right along with that comes a massive adrenaline dump. And we all joke about the fact that, the body goes into fight or flight and the brain goes into neutral in a lot of cases. You're going to be under immense stress, protecting not only yourself, your castle, your loved ones, your animals, maybe. Guess what? You may not make the best decisions at 3 a.m. A lot of times, under stress, we're guided by, instead of logic and intelligence, we're guided by emotion. Let's face it, that's how liberals get elected. But anyway, now going further into this, we need to also have a plan to coordinate potentially with others in the house. And we'll get into that a little bit further when we talk about some of the lifestyle issues that go on. Now, if you live alone, the plan is yours. I live by myself. My plan is mine. I know what my plan is, and I don't have to really coordinate or communicate with anybody else. But if you've got other adults in the house or adolescent kids, teenagers, young kids, how about teenagers who stay at home alone sometimes? Or if you work a late night shift, do you have a 15-year-old who stays at home alone? Do they have a plan? What do I do? Well, I mean, of course, call 911. I get that. But there's a hell of a lot more to it. Do we need to worry about this? Well, I'll give you these numbers. FBI statistics, 2021, over 413,000 residential burglaries. That was up from 377,000 in 2020. Now, you figure the fact that a lot of us were home and locked down during 2020, that number may be a little bit low. There are, 300 plus thousand the year before that. But we looked at a 9.5% increase. Now, the scary part is between a quarter and a third of those are occupied residences, meaning some living creature, human, is home. Is it me? Is it the spouse? Is it the kids? Who's home? Who's going to potentially run into these bad actors, bad guys? Are they really bad guys? Who knows? And we're going to go through different things you can think of and different game plans you can have. And again, we're not going to settle anything tonight. We're not going to come up with all the world tonight. But what I want to do is I want to give you a starting point. I want to give you some things you can think of. I want to give you a little bit of a checklist you can go through and say, okay, what's good, what's bad, where do I need to be as we build this out? Now, this is part one of a multi-part series. We're going to delve in deeper to each of these parts as we go along. But again, I know how many new firearms owners we have over the last few years. I know how many people now are more ready than they ever were to deal with a potential violent encounter or lethal force encounter. So I want to help you help yourself build your plan so not only you, but your family can be safer. And again, I want to try to give you something that you can use here, give you useful information. Yes, there can actually be useful information put out. As always, we're streaming live. We're on Rumble and YouTube tonight. Big thanks to Rumble because, again, they let us host all our stuff over there and they support free speech. And as we get into some of the deeper stuff in this, we may go into a couple of Rumble only streams. Why? Well, because there are some concepts we may talk about that YouTube may not consider to be particularly YouTube friendly. Rumble, they support free speech and we support them. If you'd be so kind, please give us a thumbs up, punch the like button, punch the plussy as it used to be called. Why? Because that shows that you appreciate the content. It also helps get the algorithm and gets it out there. The more people who know how to protect themselves, the more good people will be able to. We don't want people getting hurt in their home. We don't want people being victims. And we don't want people making bad decisions under emotional stress where they're going to go out and get themselves or their family hurt or potentially get themselves criminally charged if they do something really stupid. And yes, it does happen, unfortunately. So let's dig a little deeper into this. When you're building your plan, what are some of your big considerations? 10,000-foot view. The first thing is your residence. Do you live in a single family residence or do you live in an apartment complex? Are there other people in and out all the time? Or do you live out in the country all alone where nobody would find you for a day or two? We're going to talk about your lifestyle, and that's, how many people are in the home? Do you work days? Do you work nights? Do you have young children? Do you have adolescents? We'll talk about what some of your resources are, things that you can use and bring into your plan, things that you can say, okay, here's a resource I've got, a great resource. I've got a neighbor next door who works at home, who watches the house for me. Hey, I might want to let them know that I'm building a plan and get them involved. Maybe get your whole neighborhood involved, neighborhood watch kind of stuff. That can be good. And lastly, in big consideration, your state and local laws. You need to make sure whatever actions you take or plan to take, or however your plan plays out, it's going to keep you on the right side of the boys in blue and girls. Because you know what? The last thing you want to do is go through all the hassle of a home invasion and then find out that you did something wrong in the aftermath of it. And we'll talk about some great resources to find out all these things and start building your plan together. Now, I'm not really going to go in depth and take notes, but I will tell you, as we go further on into this series, we will be posting notes up where you can download them or putting out where you can get a list of what we've got done. So that way you can work through this at your home on your schedule. I get the fact that we've all got a million things going on, and this is not a one day wonder. This isn't, I'm going to do it and be done with it. This is an ongoing. When we think about what is a plan, well, let's say you coached a football team. Would you go to the big game without a plan, without a game plan? No. Would you want the receivers to know what routes they're going to run so you can throw the ball in the right place for the receiver to catch it? Yes. If the receiver and the quarterback are not on the same page of the playbook, can we get an interception easily? Yes. If they don't block properly, can the quarterback get hit? Yes. Now, if you don't know anything about football, you don't know what I'm talking about. But again, you put 11 people on the field, 11 out of 11 got to be on the same page of the playbook. So we're going to get into that, and I'll show you how to help build that. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. If you want to get copies of my notes for this stuff, please feel free to reach out. I do teach classes locally here at our facility in Lawrence, South Carolina, and I'm more than willing to try to help out, get you information. I want the good people to be safe. I want the bad guys to realize they don't want to work in your neighborhood. That's my number one. So please hit the like button, share us out. And also, if you want to find other information, check us out on rumble.com. We've Sorry about that. Got my teeth loose a little bit there. But check us out on rumble.com. We've got a full video library there, and we will be posting lots of information on this. So let's dig in a little bit more. Your residence. Now, your residence. This is the area you will have the most control over. This is a good thing. Remember, it's your playing field. The other team is coming to play the game, so to speak, on your field. You can make it as difficult or as easy as you want for them. Now, I'm hoping if you're smart, you want to make their life rather challenging. You think about even in the movie Home Alone, I think we all saw that. No great spoilers. Little Macaulay Culkin was able to hold off the bad guys. Why? He knew what his resources were in his house. He knew his way around. He knew where things were. Now, he may not have had a great plan, but boy, he sure thwarted their efforts. So when we look at your house that you have control over, we're going to start with the exterior. Walk around the outside of your house periodically. Do you have cameras outside? Now, if you have cameras, hey, great. Are these cameras recorded? Things that can provide evidence, things that will alert you, motion sensitive possibly. In an emergency, can you access these cameras from your phone? If I hear an alert on my software here on my phone that there's someone out in my driveway, I can hit a couple of buttons on the phone. I'm looking out of the driveway. That can help you. 3 o'clock in the morning, you hear something outside. You don't have to necessarily go check it yourself. You pull it up on the phone and you could look at your perimeter outside. Another thing to look at exterior, lighting. Walk around both in daytime and in nighttime. Where is your lighting? Is it good? Are there motion lights out there? Is there something out there that will not only alert you, but the neighbors that, hey, the motion lights all just came on over there. Is someone poking around at their house? If you communicated your plan to your neighbors, they'll be more aware of your motion lights going off. Think about, are there shadows where someone could hide? Not only you think about if you're in the house, but if you're coming home after dark, motion lights outside can help that thief who's in the bushes, who's getting ready to jump you. Guess what? Maybe they won't be able to hide there because when you pull up, all the lights come on. The lights, hey, you now see someone in the bushes and you don't get out of the car. Good things to have. Are there dark spots? Are there shadows? Is there a place we can improve our lighting? Again, walk around in the dark. Where would you hide? Look also for objects outside that are loose, things that can easily be targets for theft, maybe, or something that could be used as a weapon, say, against you. Is there a shovel outside? A shovel or simple gardening tools left out back. Could they be used to break a window and get in? Could we secure those? Maybe put them up somewhere? Last thing we want to do is give the bad guy a tool or a weapon to be used against us. Is there a ladder left loose outside that could easily be used to get into an unlocked second floor window? We all think, oh, we'll lock up our first floor windows, but the second story, no one's going to get up there. Well, if your ladder's right next to the garage, yeah, they'll get up there. Trust me. So we've looked at the exterior. We've tried to figure out, do our cameras have good coverage? Nowadays, with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and all the wonderful electronic devices, everybody should have at least a doorbell so you can see who's coming to ring your doorbell. Think about it. A lot of the daytime burglar crews, they get a truck. It looks like a work truck. They go around like they're giving out, free roofing exams or selling gutter repair or some driveway sealing, and they come to your house. Well, they come to your house 2 or 3 days and they realize no one's ever answering the door during the day. They know that they can easily come to your house, break in during the day, and you know what? There's no one there. Now, unoccupied is technically preferable to occupied because there's not a life safety hazard. But if you've got pets at home, if you've got, things of value at home, you might worry about that. So let's look a little bit further. Looking at your access and egress points at your house. Ask yourself a simple question. I got locked out of the dang house. I left my keys inside. How am I going to get in? Do you know of a loose window or a likely unlocked window or some way that you could easily get in without a key? Guess what? If you can figure it out, these folks do it all the time. They're going to figure it out too. So be wary of that. Your next thing, when you look at your doors, do the locks match up well? Are the locks in good repair? That old deadbolt that you've been meaning to fix, that old lock that you've been meaning to work on, take the time to fix it. That's your first line of defense. At least make them work to get in. Also, very simple, and it's something that's pointed out in countless classes. Most locks, the little metal hasp that goes on the door frame itself, typically has screws that are about this long. Now, that piece of metal is the only thing that's holding that door in. If you've got little 3/4 inch screws going into soft wood, guess what? That door is pretty easy for someone to breach and kick open. Trust me, I've worked in the fire service, I've worked in EMS, we've had to force our way into houses, and those doors don't stand up to much fight. You replace those screws with some 2 or 3 inch screws that actually not only go into the door frame, but also go into the studs that are supporting the door. Now, guess what? Your door lock, it's wonderful. You spent great money on a good quality deadbolt lock or an electronic locking system. But if you put it in with nickel screws, it's worth a nickel. It's the weakest link in your chain. Upgrade your screws. With a drill, it should take you 5 minutes to go around and do all the doors in the house. Zip, 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 zip. And now what have you done? You made your locks that much more effective. Now let's look at your windows. Are there windows that are typically left open or left open a little bit? If a window's left open a little bit, a lot of times it can be open the rest of the way, very simply. Windows are also made of glass. Yeah, I know, rocket science here. But these windows that are made of glass, how easy is it for someone to breach one on the opposite end of the house? Now, if you've got big windows that someone could easily crawl through or easily breach, imagine if you put some UV film tinting on it, especially on the lower sections. Not only might it keep your house a little bit cooler in the summertime, but that film tint on the inside, if someone goes to break out that window to reach in, it's now made it more complicated. There's this sticky film that's holding all sorts of broken glass in the way. They've made the noise, but they haven't breached yet. You're slowing them down. You're adding another step. I know it sounds simple, but UV film on windows can definitely slow people down. How about shrubs? Are the shrubs right in front of your windows? If the shrubs are close enough, it can make it really difficult for someone to get to or access a window. On the other side, if the shrubs are set a foot away from the window, now you've got a shrub that someone can hide behind from passing traffic while they work on your windows to try to get in. Also remember, sometimes you may have a first floor window that may be an egress window or an escape window as well. Take that into account. How would you escape from a bedroom if there was a man with a gun on the hallway outside the bedroom? Is there a window you could use for a bailout window? Hey, that was an idea. We used to think of screens on windows to be pretty strong. Days when I was growing up, we had metal wire screens on windows. Nowadays, most of it is very light grade, nylon composites. A lot of times they can be cut with a razor blade in 5 seconds. Yeah. Think what you can do to make your windows a little bit more breach proof. Now, if you have a window, especially that you think is very vulnerable, it's on the back side of the house, it's hidden from the roadway, no one can see it. Taking and putting a rod, if it's a two slung window, putting a rod in it so that way it can't be lifted up over a certain point. If the rod goes diagonally, and again, a simple closet dowel cut down to fit it, that you usually hang clothes on in the closet, and we'll show you how to do this. You put this in, now that window can be left open 2 inches so you can get fresh air in on a cool summer evening, but on the other side of that coin, it can't be lifted up any further. That would also, again, slow them down. It's not going to make it a fortified metal safe or a lockdown room, but it'll definitely slow them down. Your garage. Do you have an interior attached garage? Think about it. How easy is it to get in your garage? I've seen houses that have attached garages that, well, the back door to the garage, the walk-through door, the person door is typically unlocked all the time. The kids run in and out that door all day long, and no one ever thinks about it. Well, the last thing you want to do is come home from work, pull your car into the garage, lower the door down, and have somebody be in your garage with you. By that same token, the last thing you want to do is have someone easily access your garage. What's in there that someone could use as a weapon? If I'm coming into someone's house at night, and if I make it into the garage, well, I can pick up a baseball bat or a rake or a shovel or something else or an axe, and then use that to force my way into the rest of the house. Of course, no one can see me visible from the street because I'm enclosed in the garage. And I've got a weapon, and I'm now armed. So again, taking a little bit of time to walk around your access points, your egress points, figure out how would someone get in? Where am I vulnerable? And take steps to bolster that a little bit. Beyond that, let's talk about the interior. We'll start with the layout of the house. What bedrooms do you have? Are they typically active? And when we say active, it means someone sleeps there regularly on a regular basis. Are all your bedrooms on one end of the house and the kitchen and the family room on the other end? Hey, great. That makes it much easier for you in an emergency to secure the kids because they're right across the hall if you've got young ones. On the other side of the coin, are the kids all the way on the other end of the house? Yeah, it's great. That way, you don't wake the kids up when you're going to bed. They sleep on their end, you sleep on your end. As long as you don't turn the TV up too loud, it won't disturb them. That's wonderful. But in an emergency, you've got a problem. Number one, the kids may be the other side of the bad guy. If you've got to get past the bad guy to get to the munchkins, it complicates things. Also, if you engage in a lethal force encounter or have to draw your weapon on the bad guy, remember, you may have munchkins that come running out of the other bedrooms. So we have to take that into account. Take a moment, look at your floor plan. Okay, which side of the house? Where are we? How does it play out? And I can't tell you what's right for your plan. What I can tell you is go through it now in a low stress environment. Make ideas, make notes. Say, you know what? I really don't want to head out that way to go get after the bad guy with a gun because I got two kids that I kind of like on the other end of the house. Yeah, I don't think they'll like rounds coming through their walls. Now, I don't know. Next one we look at is, are there safe rooms in your house or safe areas? Which room or rooms in your house would you say have great lockdown potential? Let's say instead of it being one or two people outside, you look on your cameras and you see there's a whole gang of people outside and they've all got big, long, ugly looking guns. Well, guns are never ugly. I'm sorry. Admonish me for that one. They got big, long, ugly looking guns. You said, there's no way I can take on that group. Where can I hide? What's the safest place I can hide? Let's say you've got someone in your house who is not a firearms aficionado, gun nut. They're not going to be a defender. They're not going to be a protector. You're going to need a place for them to go. Let's say it's someplace for your 13-year-old daughter. What's the safest place in her room? How are you going to communicate to her to get to that safe place in her room? Whether it be under a bed or in a closet or in a crawl space, wherever. What can you do? Again, coming up with ideas now can definitely help out. When we look at, safe rooms, we can also think for storms or for other things. Where would I go? Now, when you look at your safe room, what resources do you want to put in your safe room? And we'll talk about that with improvised weapons and some other things as we get further into it. But at least make sure that your phone works in your safe room. The last thing you want to say is, yeah, that's my safe room, but my phone's in a dead spot. So now I can't use my safe room if I want to be on the phone with 911 and texting them, I'm hiding in the closet. Yeah, won't work real well. Another thing you want to start thinking about when you look at your safe rooms is, what are your pathways to get from one area to the other? Are there any fatal funnels or choke points in your house? Places you don't want to have to try to engage or go from point A to point B and deal with this crossing situation. This is all stuff we can think about now, work through in advance, get the family on the right page, because I'm hoping you never face a home invasion. I hope I never face a home invasion. But if I do, I want to be ready. I want to have a good idea and a smart idea of how to address it. Now, next thing, again, we get into lifestyle. And I've talked a little bit about this. How many adults do you have in the house? Let's say you've got 2 adults and you're totally willing to defend. You're trained with a firearm. You practice with your firearm. You're good with your firearm. You know exactly how you're going to do it. And let's say your spouse is absolutely scared of guns, doesn't want to know about guns, won't go to the range, and is allergic to the smell of, gunfire in the morning. Well, that's great. Can they be given another job? Hey, get on the phone with 911. I'll take care of this. Yeah. Could your spouse be the one to go secure the dogs or secure the kids or whatever else that has to be done while you deal with whatever is going bump in the night? Yes. But if that spouse is panicking and they're getting in your way and they're more of a distraction, now you've got 2 problems. Have a plan. Let them know what their assigned tasks or job is, and hopefully they'll get out of your way. Let's take, for example, that the lady of the house trains with firearms. The man of the house, kind of a useless wuss. At that point, if he doesn't want to know anything about firearms, he's scared of them, doesn't want to do anything with them, doesn't know how to use them, don't give him one. He's a liability. He'll just get in your way and he'll possibly hurt you with it. On the other side, you may be the one to break out the AR, chamber it out, and say, okay, I'm going to control this hallway. This hallway is going to keep any bad guy from coming anywhere near me or my family. They're all behind me. And then tell him to just go hide in the corner in the closet and get on the phone with 911. As long as he knows his job, keep him in his place, keep him out of your way, and you can do great things. Now, children and adolescents gets real interesting. When we get into children and adolescents, young children, go ahead, teach them, hey, if this happens, you need to hide. Whether it's they hide under their bed or they hide in the closet or wherever their hiding space is, make sure you know where their hiding space is and you'll be able to tell law enforcement where their hiding space is. Make sure all the adults know where to look for them. If you're trying to bail out of the house, the last thing you want to do is go play hide and seek. But, okay, so we can do that. We can have the children and adolescents go ahead and hide. Now, how we communicate that to them? Well, again, most of us have these wonderful devices in all the rooms of our house. Can you use it as a room-to-room intercom? Can you turn the lights in their room a certain color based on your phone? If they've got a light bulb that you can turn to, say, red via your phone, if they wake up and the red light's on, they need to hide in the closet. Having that all planned out and drilled can be wonderful. We also look at older kids. Can older kids potentially help defend? You may actually have a 13, 14-year-old boy who is more willing to take up the AR and back mom up than the husband is. And again, I'm not saying this just jokingly. I know plenty of ladies who are much more adept with 2A tools than their husbands are. I've taken quite a few of them out to the range from time to time. So from that standpoint, an older kid, can he handle a firearm? Can he handle the responsibility? Decide that on a munchkin by munchkin basis. But on the other side of the coin, even if they can't, maybe not get to the whole firearm thing yet, could that child possibly escape and go to the neighbor's house for help? If they wake up and the lights, flashing red in their bedroom, they know, oh wow, something's wrong. I need to go out my bedroom window and run next door to the neighbor's house. And what do I tell the neighbor? And is the neighbor ready to act? When the kid shows up at the neighbor's house banging on their window at 3:00 in the morning, is the neighbor going to say, whoa, that's the little munchkin from next door. I'm getting my AR and I'm going to go help defend their house. Be kind of nice to have. Again, plan it now. Some of these ideas may sound totally stupid. If they don't work for you, hey, they don't work for you. I'm throwing ideas out from the hip to give you something to go on. Because trust me, it's not if it looks good on paper, or if it looks bad on paper, does it work? Now, we think about your scheduling and your routine. Husband and wife both work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, so the house is empty all the time. Okay, simple. We don't live like that anymore. The husband may work days, the wife may work nights at a hospital or something else, or work at dispatch, or, the husband may be in law enforcement and subject to getting recalled all hours of the night. You know, we may work in a plant or industrial setting where one works first shift, one works second shift. That way, someone's always home for childcare. Well, guess what? You can figure that out. And we need to address that. Is this likely to happen in the daytime or the nighttime? The weird thing is, I look at a lot of these residential break-ins, a lot of these residential burglaries. When are they going to be great to happen? Well, if someone's skulking around a house at midnight, 1 a.m., it's suspicious. If someone's wearing a plumbing company golf shirt, walking house to house through a subdivision at 11 o'clock in the morning, it's not that suspicious. Oh yeah, we're going to do free AC cleanings, or we're going to free roof checkups, or whatever. And they've got some fake business cards made up. And what do? They go through the whole neighborhood and see who answers doors. They do that 2 or 3 days in a row. They can pretty much guarantee what house is going to be empty. Then they pull up with a plumber's van or a contractor's van in front of the house, and they go ahead act like they're doing some work on the house. If your neighbors are not in the habit of letting you know when they are or are not having work done on, they're going through the house and unloading everything. I say this because, I had a family member, their house got broken into while they were at a school event. They came home from a school event during the day, had done a school event with their kids, went to the grocery store, came home, and people had been in the house. Law enforcement estimated, depending on the number of people, they had been in the house for over an hour. Now, fortunately, she didn't come home. There was no one still in the house, but she could have very easily walked into a bad situation. So again, daytime, nighttime. Another thing to think about when we talk about lifestyle. If the wife works as a nurse, or most of the husband works as a nurse, and the wife does something else, and she's home at night and the husband's working night shift, and they get downstaffed or sent home early, or the wife works in a plant and for whatever reason they've made their production quota, or some machine is down and they get sent home early. Think about this. If you have a spouse who's in the other end of the house, who's armed and ready to defend, and you're walking into that house and they hear something go bump in the night, accidents have happened. Tragic accidents have happened. Have a plan. Typically call. Now, I had a roommate one time years ago when I was in school. I worked EMS, he worked law enforcement. We were always on weird schedules. If either one of us was coming home after midnight, let's say I had to come home and get a new uniform because I got blood all over mine, or he was coming home because he had gotten bit by someone he was arresting and had to guess what? We would always call the other one. Now, we were trained. We worked with our firearms regularly. I had worked side by side with him in law enforcement for a while before going over to the dark side of EMS. We worked together, but we made damn sure we communicated, hey, just let you know I'm coming home. And it wasn't like, why'd you wake me up and tell me? Because I wanted him to know who was coming in that downstairs door and coming up the stairs, because up at the top of the stairs, his bedroom was on the right side, mine was on the left. I didn't want to be coming up that stairs and see a flashlight coming back down on me, because that meant something was aimed at me. Accidents can happen. Tragedies can happen. If you have kids away at school or away at college and they decide they're going to come home and surprise you, or they were in the neighborhood and just really had to use the John. Yeah, we've all had that day, haven't we? We're driving, and it's like, okay, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, I can stop by the folks' house because it's only a few miles up the road. Guess what? they need to call. They need to be aware. If not, tell them at least ring the doorbells. Make sure you're awake. Yeah, I know you don't want to be woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I get that. I would rather someone wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and tell me they're coming in than a kid from school or a friend or someone else stop by, come in an open door and have an accident. Also, along those lines, remember 3 things we never shoot at. They all begin with S: shapes, sounds, and shadows. We identify our targets. Always remember that. That's a safety issue, but it's with this. So it comes into our scheduling and our routine. What will work for us as far as our life and safety? What resources do you have? Now, when we get into resources, we think of weapons availability. Yeah, I've got a huge gun safe. It's amazing. It's this big, giant. I've got every gun in the world in there. It's in the garage. How close is the bedroom to the garage? How quickly can I get something? Do you have something in every room of the house or in some rooms of the house? Or do you have to forego that if you have kids? First, safety, making sure it's not accessible to unauthorized persons or kids. But again, coming up with a plan of what can I put where? Can I have something readily available? Where can I put it to have something readily available? Beyond that, let's talk about improvised weapons for a minute. I said earlier how old a child is, their maturity, their dependability, their comfort level all comes into if they're going to be a 2A defender or not. But let's say you've got to leave your 13-year-old home alone for a few hours while you work a night shift or while you get called in, or your 14-year-old. And she's good, she's smart, she's done great things in the past, and you haven't had any problems, and you trust her, but not really trust her with a loaded weapon. I get that. Does she have a baseball bat or a softball bat in her room? Nice aluminum softball bat. Well, I get it. She doesn't play softball. Look, if Bobby the bad guy decides to come in the house and decides to come down the hallway to your daughter's room, I would much rather pick up that softball bat to defend her than try to beat him over the head with a Barbie doll. Okay? Along those lines, fireplace pokers. Okay? You think, again, go back to Home Alone, look at all the weapons he had in the house. Were all improvised weapons. That may be something for your 13, 14, 15-year-old who stays at home alone some nights. Get them on board with this. Because you know what? I'd rather teach them, educate them, train them, and get them prepared. If it happens, this is how you do it. Now, I'm not saying scare them. Tell them, look, it'll probably never happen, but that's kind of why we have smoke detectors. We'll probably never light the house on fire, but if we do, I want to be ready. We all learned in like elementary and middle school and everything else, stop, drop, and roll. I've not been on fire that much. I did some time in the fire service too. But, again, we practice this stuff. Think about other improvised weapons. Anyone ever seen how far a can of wasp spray shoots? I want you to think about it. Your kid, your 15-year-old son is home alone. Bobby the bad guy and his friends come in and they're going to do something bad. They open the door to his bedroom and what happens? They get sprayed in the face with wasp spray. I hate it for him. Your kid may have just saved his life. Also, again, does he know about an egress window? You hear people breaking into the house. Do you want to hide? Do you want to get out of here? Do you sit in the closet and wait with that wasp spray and tell him, hey, use as much as he wants, you'll get him another can. Now, looking at neighbors in nearby houses, I mentioned a little bit communicating back and forth with this. Do you have a neighbor who's close, who's likely to be home a lot, or do they work out of town all the time? Watching each other's houses, knowing about each other's plans and their security systems and their motion lights. Why'd all the motion lights come on next door? They're out of town. That shouldn't be happening. Why are people moving around in the house when they're out of town? Do we communicate and coordinate worth a crap with people around us? No man is an island. No matter how many weapons I have, I love the fact that if I'm out of town and there's a strange car in the yard, I'll get calls sometimes from 2 or 3 different people. It's actually kind of fun. But again, there's a strange van in your driveway. What's going on? Great. Yeah, it's a friend's. He left it there, and he and I rode to the conference together. But again, definitely pays off. Also, who's familiar with the kids or the neighbors? Do you have nearby neighbors that your kids are familiar and comfortable with? That your kids know that in an emergency that your kids could run to their house and not be afraid to wake up Mr. So-and-so? Because you know what? They may have to bang on his door or ring his doorbell or do this. You know what? If the kids come running over, or even if, the husband's defending the house and the wife goes running next door and says, or texts the person next door and says, hey, your lights are on. Are you home? We hear someone in our house. Coming up with these ideas and these plans in advance and working with your neighbors. Because again, let's take it this way. You're the female. You're going to be the defender. The husband's about useless. Well, at least if you can get him to walk next door, maybe he'll bring you some help back. Maybe he can go next door and call the police if he can't get out on his cell phone. Maybe he'll at least, do something useful. Again, if you're in trouble, if you can't rely on him to back you up, at least rely on him to go get help. Having a plan, working through ideas, discussing it with your family, it all works together. And again, from that standpoint, we all come up with different ideas. Now, so we've talked about this. And again, it's your residence. What can you do to harden your target? What will work, what won't work? If you're in a 1-bedroom apartment and live alone, you pretty much have run of it and you can do what you want. If you're in a 2-bedroom apartment, like my roommate and I were, we coordinated. We both said, look, if either one of us coming home unexpectedly, we made sure the other one knew. Do you have kids in the house? Are the kids familiar with, where, to get a softball bat? And again, as stupid as it sounds, I'd much rather have, if a child was home alone, I'd much rather have them have a can of wasp spray and a softball bat in their room than, again, try to pick up and defend it with a Barbie and a race car. Because, that Star Wars X-Fighter, they can only hit them 2 or 3 times, it'll break. Softball bat might do some more good. That can also be really useful if you've got a prohibited possessor in the house. Let's say you've got somebody who's, legally barred from being a member of the 2A community. Fine. We can go ahead and teach them, leave the guns to us and, we'll let you play with the other stuff. Alrighty. Before we go any further, again, please give us a plus on the Rumble or a thumbs up on the Rumble stream. Definitely appreciate it. We've got about 5 people watching right now. If you have any questions, please feel free. Throw them up in the Rumble chat by all means. Got my coffee here. Yeah, as long as we're talking about coffee, one other thing I definitely need to mention. If you have seen our lovely Gun Club tumblers, pull these up. I want to give a big shout out to the lady who makes these. She does all sorts of colors and resins and designs and sparkles and clouds and mists. It's done by a place called Southern Sisters Crafty Creations. Yeah, I know. Say that 3 times twice. But they've made all sorts of wonderful, cool designs for us and stickers for us. If you are looking for something like that, especially holidays coming up, gift time coming up, definitely be something worth looking into. Sometimes she's up here in our chat. I don't know if she's in the chat right now. Usually goes by the name of Minnie Mouse or something somewhat close to it. But you can definitely find her up on Facebook. She's done a lot of really nice stuff for us. Now, she's small and she does it out of the home, but the nice thing about dealing with her is she can do more custom work and doesn't have a lot of minimums. Some of these places we look to getting stuff done, they want to do at least 24 or at least 48. She's going to be able to do more light custom work, again, gift stuff, craft stuff, designs. There's pictures on their Facebook of all the stuff they do. And she and her sister do, like I said, some really nice stuff. So Got to give her a shout out. She actually did this nice one for me. We got the Gun Club logo over here. And of course, that's right. I'm Sully and welcome to the Gun Club. So okay. Now we've taken all these thoughts into consideration and we'll dig in a little bit further here as we go through in future weeks. How do we build a plan? We've talked about, what we need to think about, but then how do we build it? Well, in the truth, it's never done. It's never finished. And if anyone's taken active shooter courses from me, I always say we're never done. We're done for today. We'll go back to that analogy I used from the football team. If your team did really well last week, you may want to keep a lot of what your plays were from last week. If you didn't do real well last week, let's say you got destroyed like my boys did, you may want to do something a little bit different. We get that. But always be planning, preparing, watching, looking. It doesn't take, doing a lot. It doesn't take being paranoid. We're talking, once it's built, 30 minutes to an hour a week, tops. But again, it's your safety, it's your life. We talk about, legal concerns. Be familiar with USCCA. They've got a lot of great gun law references on there. You can look stuff up. Definitely be familiar with the law of self-defense or Mr. Andrew Branca. If you're not familiar with him, he has law of self-defense. If you look, this is the South Carolina curriculum. They've got state-by-state information and references on gun laws. And the reason I say that is, does your state have a castle doctrine? Where does the castle doctrine apply? Does it apply in your garage? Does it apply in your back porch? Does it apply in the barn outside? What can I do? What can't I do? Where can I have a loaded gun? Where can't I have a loaded gun? When are the elements of self-defense changed? When can I stand my ground? When do I have to retreat? If you don't know, again, come up with your plan in advance. We've seen videos, and it's sad that a homeowner, a defender, a protector is in his house. Bad guys, 4th century, 2, maybe 3 of them. They're armed. He, of course, engages. He opens fire. Okay, seems pretty legit. They turn around, they run for their lives, and there he goes out of his house, chasing them down the street, shooting at them. They're no longer a threat. They're no longer attacking him. At the moment you're chasing someone down the street, as much as I get it, it's your stuff. They violated your house. I want to shoot them too. I would love to, but the problem is it's not legal. You can use deadly force to protect your home, to protect yourself, but you have to know the laws on it. And again, Andrew Branca goes through state-by-state laws. I'm not an attorney. He is. I'm not a 50-state expert on all this stuff. He is. But take your plan and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm not going to do. If I see someone on the cameras breaking into my car outside, maybe there's 2 guys breaking into my car outside. Am I going to go out and decide to challenge them? Well, they're breaking into my car. That's great. And if I get into a firefight with them, what are the legals on it? How about if they're unarmed and I get out there and I start shooting at somebody and I shoot an unarmed 15-year-old kid in my driveway who was breaking into my car for a cell phone charger? Now, he shouldn't have broken into my car. But you want to try to explain that to the police? You want to try to explain it to the media? Yeah, you don't. So again, know what's legal, know where your legal steps are, and build your plan to say, hey, if I see someone outside, I'm going to arm up and I'm going to call the cops and I'm going to watch on the camera phone and see what goes on. You may have other local entities that put together self-defense packages in your area beside these guys at USCCA and Law of Self-Defense. Build this, build it smart. Come up with something that will work for you. Now, once you build your plan, where do you go from there? Well, you've developed it. You communicate it not only internally to your family members, you practice it. Schools have fire drills all the time. And again, how realistic you practice based probably on, you know, the age of your kids if you have kids. Again, I'm not saying we scare the kids or terrorize the kids. No, not trying to terrorize the munchkins. On the other side of that coin, teaching them that, hey, look, if you hear, this, and this happening, you go to this safe point and you hide until I come and get you. I'd much rather that than me trying to go deal with possible bad guy breaking in the house or engaging and having one of the munchkins latched onto my leg screaming, stop, stop, stop. No. You want to make sure you know where they're going to be and where they're going to be safe. And like I said, at the simplest level, if you know that once they've gotten the alert or once they're hiding, that they're going to be hiding under their bed, even if you have to shoot toward the opposite end of the house, as long as you're pretty high, you should be safe doing it. So we practice it with them, and then we review it and we revise it periodically. Watch your local crime stats. What's going on? Are there daytime break-ins going in? Talk about it. Do you have a neighborhood Facebook group or a community group where, hey, look, this suspicious vehicle has been all over the place in our neighborhoods recently. We all need to keep watch for each other. I hate to be like this. I really do, because I don't think the world is necessarily bad. However, it can be dangerous. And so from that side, dealing with it, coming up with our plan. Externally, again, communicate it. Talk to our neighbors about it. Make sure they know, hey, look, if something's going on, the kids may come to your house. I've told the kids, go to your house to get help. Okay? So if the kids show up at my house, I know it's not a game. It's not a joke. This is real. And on the other side of that coin, if you're going out of town and you have a trusted neighbor, make sure they know to watch for you. You watch for them. If you work all the time during the day, your neighbor should be suspicious if he sees a vehicle over there. Now, they may be really repairing the plumbing. Who knows? They may not be. And again, we need to take care of each other. We need to protect our castles. Folks, that's all I've got for tonight. I appreciate y'all's time. I hope you're getting something out of some of the stuff we're doing. I tried to put it together to be, again, informational, educational. I try to do something that, to give you something in exchange for the time you spend here with us here on the Gun Club on Thursday nights. If you would, again, check us out. Share this out with friends who need to hear it. There's too much going on out there these days. I hate to say it, this is not the world I grew up in. This is not the world it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. When I first moved into this house, there were many, many days when I would go to work and I may or may not leave the door unlocked. And I know at that time, a lot of times I could leave the door unlocked. And if I had to call my neighbors to come over and check on the dog because I got held over late at work, they could do it. There was no need for a key. By that same token, they could leave their back door open for their kids to go in and out because there was no need for it. We didn't need to worry about that. It ain't the same anymore, folks. I hate to break it to you. All righty. Well, unless you've got any questions here in the chat, I do appreciate y'all's time, your effort, and energy. Let's see, we've got a few people still hanging around with us. Folks, hope you all have a wonderful night. Please be safe, be smart. Bye.